It began long before Samuel ever came into Esther's life. She had always been the girl who believed in love's better side, not the fairy tale perfection the world sold in movies, but the kind of love that grew deep roots, weathered storms, and reflected the heart of God. Her parents had been married for over 30 years, and though their journey was far from perfect, Esther had grown up watching them pray together in their living room and speak kindly to each other even after disagreements. To her, that was love, commitment, patience, and grace. But life has a way of testing even the strongest beliefs. By the time Esther was in her late 20s, she had already endured one heartbreak that left her questioning her own worth. That man, Michael, had walked away without much of an explanation, and though she healed on the outside, a part of her quietly promised, "Next time, I'll hold on tighter. I won't give up too soon." It was during a Sunday service in early spring that she first saw Samuel. She noticed him in the row ahead, tall and confident, with a voice that carried strongly when the congregation sang. After service, as she greeted friends in the church courtyard, she found him standing nearby, speaking to one of the youth leaders. When their eyes met, he smiled in a way that made her heart pause for a second. Their first conversation wasn't extraordinary, a simple exchange about the sermon and the weather, but there was something in his demeanor, a calm assurance that made her feel safe. Later that week, she received a message from him on social media. "It was nice meeting you, Esther. Would you like to grab coffee sometime?" Coffee turned into 3-hour conversations. 3 hours turned into daily calls. And before long, Esther found herself rearranging her evenings so she could hear his voice before bed. Samuel had a gift for making her feel seen. He remembered small details she mentioned in passing: her favorite worship song, the way she liked her tea, the fact that she was saving up for a trip to Jerusalem. When she mentioned she was leading a women's Bible study, he said, "I admire that. It's rare to find someone who lives their faith so openly." Those words sank deep into her heart. The first sign came quietly. He canceled their third date, saying something had come up. His tone was casual, but there was no real explanation. She noticed it, felt a small twinge in her spirit, but brushed it away. "It's just one time," she told herself. The second sign arrived a week later, when she asked about his family. His answers were vague, and when she gently pressed for more, he laughed it off. "That's a long story for another day." Again, she let it go. Weeks passed. Their bond deepened, at least from her perspective. She introduced him to Lydia, her closest friend, who later pulled her aside and said softly, "Esther, he's charming, but something feels off. Don't rush." Esther smiled and reassured her. "I'm taking my time." But in truth, she was already picturing a future with him. Then came the subtler signs, the late replies to messages, the last-minute changes of plan, the moments he seemed distracted when she spoke. She began to notice he was most present when things were easy, but distant when life required him to show up in ways that cost him something. Still, every time doubt crept in, he'd disarm her with a compliment or a small gesture. One rainy Friday evening, she called him to share exciting news about a promotion at work. He answered after the third ring, his voice flat. "Can I call you back later? I'm busy." She never did get that call back. Instead, he showed up 2 days later with flowers, acting as if nothing had happened. By this point, the still, small voice inside her was no longer whispering, it was pressing. But she confused that inner nudge with fear of losing him, and so she pushed it down. She told herself love meant patience, understanding, and giving grace. She clung to the hope that the man she saw glimpses of in the beginning was still there. Months later, the truth came like a thief in the night. It was a Sunday afternoon when she stopped by his apartment to surprise him with his favorite meal. She had a spare key, something he had given her 2 months earlier as a sign of trust. But when she opened the door, she was the one caught by surprise. Samuel was there, but so was another woman. The look on his face told her everything before a single word was spoken. The woman left quickly, muttering an awkward goodbye, and Samuel stood there, rubbing the back of his neck. "It's not what it looks like," he said, but even he seemed to know how hollow the words sounded. Her hands trembled. Do you think I'm blind? Do you think I can't see what's right in front of me? Her voice cracked, tears welling up. I ignored every sign because I believed in you. And this is what you give me? There was no apology deep enough to erase what she had just seen. No explanation that could rewrite the truth. And so, she left, quietly, without slamming the door, without screaming. The loudest sound that day was the silence between them. The days that followed were heavy. Healing alone is a strange kind of ache. It's waking up and realizing the person who once filled your mornings with goodnight texts is gone, and the silence is deafening. At first, she felt empty. Then, slowly, the emptiness became space. Space she could fill with prayer, with worship, with the steady voice of God reminding her that His love had never once wavered. Some nights, she cried until she couldn't anymore. Other nights, she sat in stillness, reading the Psalms and finding her own pain mirrored in David's words. She began journaling again, writing letters to God about her fears, her regrets, and her gratitude for the lessons she couldn't yet understand. One morning, while reading Isaiah 43, her eyes landed on the words, When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. She felt as if God Himself had reached into her heart and whispered, You are not drowning. I'm holding you. It wasn't easy, but day by day, she learned to let go of the fantasies she had clung to. She realized that ignoring the signs had cost her months of peace. But it had also taught her one of the most important truths of her life. When God shows you who someone is, it's not to hurt you, but to protect you. Now, months later, Esther speaks differently about love. She no longer romanticizes potential, she values consistency. She no longer explains away red flags, she honors them as God's early warnings. And most importantly, she no longer fears healing alone, because she knows she's never truly alone. To every woman listening, don't confuse patience with self-betrayal. Don't call endurance what is actually avoidance. If you see the signs, trust the one who put them there. You are not too much to be loved well. And the right person will not make you question your worth. If Esther's story spoke to your heart today, let it remind you that silence in the face of red flags is not love, it's slow self-destruction. Pay attention to the signs. Trust the still, small voice. And if you're in the season of healing alone, know this, you are not truly alone. God is with you, and He will never leave you for someone better. Don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that help you love smarter and live stronger.